I believe creation is fractal. Creation is what made us. And so we, as forms of creation, continue to create and create new paradigms, create new forms of art, create new conversations, create all this stuff. And I don't know, I feel like that's the dharma of the human experience, is to continue the fractal of creation.
Circuits of electromagnetic exchange bind us together as one living ocean of psychosensory, co-creative space-time coordinates. We are the amalgamation of various visible and invisible energy systems that together generates the human hologram. One truth, your truth.
Hey, it's Mike Gadelic, new episode. I'm Mike Brancatelli, you're you. That was Matt Zian in the intro, Time Wheel, Zian Archive Podcast. My brother Matt Zian. Always love chatting with Matt. This episode, you guys are really going to dig it. We go all sorts of fractally creation places. And then that track was One Truth by Savage, spelled with a J at the end, S-A-V-E-J. Shout out to him. Thank you so much for that dope-ass track. His link to his Spotify is in the show notes, so description, all the things that you need. I don't want to tell you guys all this rambly stuff and like you're going to fast forward it anyway. You know, these intros are tricky because it's like, it's a necessity as an independent little podcast over here trying to make headway with some giants out there, trying to bring cool conversations to the forefront, get more people interested in the things that we're talking about over here. I have to tell you guys to go and show support for the show. Leave 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. That helps boost us up in the algorithm. Consider joining the Patreon. For $5 a month, you get early release episodes, special bonus episodes, Patreon-only episodes, and the Inner Sanctum private Discord server where we're building a little Mycadelic community of people from all around the world chatting and sharing stories and offering support and links and just cool conversations and connecting with dope human beings. Shout out to all of you beautiful, amazing people who are patrons and Discord Inner Sanctum members. Also, check out the sponsors, Element Kombucha, best kombucha, hands down. I'm a booch aficionado. I guess, connoisseur. I love kombucha, and I've had some good ones, but Element Kombucha is by far the best. Love it, absolutely love it. Put in the promo code Mike11, get 11% off. Get yourself some beautiful booch from Element Kombucha, and check out Being True to You and Fungi Academy. Also, shout out to Student Loan Tutor, and yeah, that's really it. Stay tuned for like other offerings and stuff. I got another podcast out that I hosted with my brother Bill Burns. We have been hosting men's group experiences together for the past like 6 months or so. And we had that big retreat called Permission at the end of August. It was a huge success, absolutely epic. So much transformation and healing and love and community and brotherhood, celebration, bonding, just joys of connecting and collaborating and being real and raw and authentic with fellow men out there that are also looking for the same thing. Getting primal, creating a safe container to allow ourselves to get deeply in touch with our most basic primal masculine things, the qualities, life, way of being. It feels so good to do that. So we got an epic retreat coming up in Boulder, Colorado on December 17th to the 19th called Inward, a Primal Masculine Journey. And please check that out. The link is in the show notes, show description. All the links are in the show notes, show description. Show description. I don't know whatever it is. Show notes, show description. The place wherever you listen to your podcast, and then there's like the information, links, and the follow, and the this and that. So all the ways that you can show your love and support and get involved and join this community that we're building, and get more info and reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with you guys all the time, always. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into this awesome, epic fractal creation conversation with the infinite, eternal being that is the Matt Zien Archive. I don't know. I tried to make that kind of like flow a little bit there. I think I got a little choppy, but you know what I'm saying. Matt Zien, he's my dog. He's my homie. And we had a great chat. Check it out. Here it is.
Pure magic, my friend. May the space be blessed.
So
time is such a funny thing, man. Like I oftentimes will say to people, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but for me, time moves so much faster in the morning. Like it seems to move quicker in the morning. I wake up in the morning and my whole conception of time is different. I'm like, okay, cool. I got to be at the door in 5 minutes. I got enough time to do this, to do that.
Right.
And then before I know it, it's there.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
It's just probably more in your rhythm. I think everyone has a rhythm, and some people, they get that experience, in the afternoon and at night. Everyone's different for sure. But I tend to find the morning hours way more productive for myself. And time does fly, and I'm able to get a lot more done. It's almost like hacking time, in my opinion, like getting up early before you'd normally get up. In a sense of like if you were to just wake up when you wake up, if you're actually able to push your alarm 1, 2, 3 hours earlier than when you would normally wake up. So let's just call it 6 a.m. instead of 8, those 2 hours, I get more done in those 2 hours than I would in like 6 hours waking up and kind of going about the day slow. I don't know. I tend to just really milk those morning hours and get a lot more done.
Yeah, you're an early morning guy and you're a get stuff done in the morning guy. I find that to be so difficult for me because my brain doesn't work.
Well, caffeine is helping me.
Oh yeah, true.
I get a
But you know
triple
what?
shot every morning, triple shot of espresso.
So I was at this retreat a couple weeks ago, and one of the days we had to wake up and be ready to go by 6.
Mm-hmm.
And at 6, we circled up, we met, we talked. Then we had a workout. Then after the workout, we did an ice bath and then a sauna. And then we did another workshop. And then by the time it was, we ate breakfast somewhere in there, and then we did something else. And then by the time it was lunch, it had felt like I was like, wow, I can't believe we did all that shit. And then like later on that day,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, like this day has felt like 4 days in one, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's something to like getting up in the morning and getting a lot of shit done early.
Yeah.
Then you feel like you've gotten it out of the way. There's something there with that. I just need to figure out a way for my brain to function better in the morning. I hate waking up to an alarm clock. You wake up to an alarm clock?
On occasion I do. Yeah. Sometimes my body just wakes me up. I'm a very I have no problem getting to sleep, but I also wake up easily, and when I'm up, I'm up. Like it's hard for me to like wake up and then go back to sleep. Even if sometimes I'll go to bed at, 11 p.m. and then wake up at 4 or 5, and I'll be there and I'll be like, I kind of want to go back to sleep, but my body just won't let me. It's just like sitting there. I'm like, well, I better just get up then if I'm just going to sit here awake. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I remember I read this book by author Mel Robbins. I think it was called like the 5-second trick or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She basically, her basic thesis is, it's amazing how these people turn these things into books too, by the way. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you could boil it down into basically this. It's like, we have this like 5-second window to do the thing or not do the thing. Like we can convince ourselves to not do the thing. But if we switch that, we only have 5 seconds to make that switch.
Mm-hmm.
And when you make that switch within 5 seconds, then you're just like, you're cruising. You're better off. And then in the book, she talks about how when you wake up to an alarm, if you hit the snooze button and go back to sleep, you know how that time always feels like it was nothing?
Yes.
She says that it's actually worse to do that. It's better to just wake up and go through the day rather than going snooze, because you interrupt, your body goes back to like the state of REM sleep that you're in.
Right.
And then when you wake up like 20 minutes later or whatever, it's like too difficult to then get back. It's almost like your body's like, wait a second, I thought we were going back to sleep. What the fuck are we doing? We're waking up again. So it like doesn't know what to do. Yep. And then she says that you wind up more tired. I've definitely experienced that.
I would agree based on my personal experience. And as well, there's a similar thing about naps with that as well. There's actually, I think there's 2 times to nap, and it's 10 minutes and it's like 40 minutes. And it should be either of those two, because napping for an hour or two actually does the same thing. It puts you way more sleepy when you wake up. And even though you like supposedly got rest, like you should be more energized, you're not. But if you were to nap, quote unquote, for just 10 minutes, you actually do get more energized. And I've noticed that works for me as well. But a lot of what you just said actually resonates with a book that the Sheath team and myself are reading actually right now, called Getting Things Done. And one of the most profound, lessons in the book is called the 2-minute rule. And it reminded me a lot of your 5-second rule right there, which is when a thing comes up in your consciousness as something that you need to do, if you know it'll take you less than 2 minutes to do, you should do it right when it comes up. Because stacking repeatedly things that you know you should do, but I'll do it later. I know I should do that, but I'll do it later. I know I should do that, but I'll do it later. When you stack up 10, 20, 50 of these things, your whole system gets bogged down. Essentially, your RAM is being used up, and you get into like a nasty downward spiral of productivity, where you can never do anything now because you're so backlogged that like you're just overwhelmed, more or less. And even if you won't admit it to yourself, your system is overwhelmed. And you don't know why. You're just not in the mood to create or to do whatever. It's because your body is literally like, yo, you have like 900 things you said you'd do later that you haven't done yet. So what this dude's trying to get you to do is there's a couple of lessons in the book, but this is a very powerful one. If a thing comes up and it'll take you 2 minutes, just do it now. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I need to send off a text. I need to hit up Mike, right? It's like, I'll hit up Mike in a few hours. Does it take that long to hit you up? It takes 10, 20 seconds. Open the phone, send the message, boom. It's done. It's off my mental palette. Now I can wait for your response and we'll go. Like, you need to take out the trash. What does that take? A minute? Right. So as these things come up, if you're able to do them, you actually get into a sprint or a spree, and you're enjoying how much you're getting done, that it puts you on a high and you get even more done. So it's just about like kickstarting that. You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense. Like all the people that I've worked with that are like CEOs or leaders, creators, they always do things like right away and quickly, and like take action. Like I was out to dinner with a guy last night, and I was telling him about this thing that I have for my plants called a 3-way meter, where you put it in the soil and it tells you like how much light the plant is getting and if it needs water or whatever. I'm like, it's so good because I have a lot of plants now and I want to take good care of them. And he's like, oh wow, that's really cool. I never heard of that before. And then he just bought it immediately. Like he just like went and he's like, oh, just ordered it. Yep. It's like the take action approach to exactly what you're saying. If it takes less than 2 minutes, like firing off an email. One of my first jobs that I ever worked in New York, I was working sales, and my boss like taught me how to write good emails to CEOs and leaders. Because he's like, dude, he's like, I get emails, if it's longer than like, if it's not right to the point of like what they want, like I just don't even look at it. So like I would see all these people, and then like in jobs in the future too, I would see all these people writing like, hello, I hope this email reaches you well today. I hope you're doing well. Like I was looking at your blah, 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 and I was wondering da, da, da. And then, it's like this really tight, rigid, formal thing. And he's like, dude, he's like, you could literally shoot me an email that doesn't even have to be like punctuated well or grammatically correct. As long as it tells me what you want from me, I'm 1,000 times more likely to respond to you. Right. So I would just start shooting off emails that would literally say like half the thing that I wanted in the subject line. Right. And then the rest of the email would just be like, when can we like meet for this? And I would get so many responses. Yeah. And I noticed that now too. Like in the past, I used to be like, oh man, I got to hit up Matt. Like, oh, what am I going to say to Matt? Like, oh man, like I kind of want to say something like really good, or I want to find like a cool GIF that like, like, or whatever. And now I'm just like, just do the thing. Just do that. What do you want? What do you want? Cause like we have to, like, why waste time on that? Now we get to waste time here on the podcast and dive in deep and talk about all kinds of things. But like, if I just want to ask you a question or I need something from you, just boom, shoot off the text.
It's funny how, I know exactly what you're saying. And it's funny how relationships, once they're like in a flow and in a lock, like the way, we have a solid, collaboration and friendship going, then it can be more of that like quick, direct thing. But when you're first starting out making a new friend, to be, overly direct and not friendly, you know what I mean? It doesn't really work. So it's funny how at the beginning of building relationships, there's a lot more attention of this. How are you today? These types of things. And then later on, we're like, hey bro, how's the sponsorships going? Or whatever. So it's just funny.
For sure. Yeah. Like reaching out to someone to be a guest on the podcast. Like especially if it's someone that I really admire and respect. I'm way better at it now, but in the past, like, dude, I've been trying to get Duncan Trussell on the show, like for a while. I'd love to talk to that guy. Yeah. And, like I remember in the past, like I wrote him like a huge like email, like paragraphs, because it was like, I want to say all the cool, like the right things. I want him to know that like we have a connection and that like we should talk and why we should talk because of this and because of that. And then like this was like years ago, like probably even like right when I started Mycadelic. And then now, like since then, I get those emails. So I know how it is. And I'm like, oh dude, like I would love to like connect with you and stuff, but like my brain shuts off when I have 2 pages of an email. Right. And I get to it, but I don't get to it till later on because it takes longer than 2 minutes,
No, 100%. Yeah, I've learned that exact thing as well as someone who used to reach out to music blogs, record labels, and these types of things before we had our own. And would do that same thing. I would put like, this is why my music means so much to me, and please listen to it. And I love you because of this, this, and this that you did, and never get any responses. And I would kind of be like, bummer, I'm just going to make my own label then. And, kind of thank God that
Yeah.
happened, because it worked out really well for me. But yeah, now that I'm in that seat of receiving the messages, I kind of know exactly what you mean, where it's kind of just like, where's the SoundCloud link? I need that more than anything, and I need to hear it, right? Because some people will send me, I would rather, again, just see, hey, I found Time Wheel through XYZ. I enjoy this, and listen to this. What do you think? Than a lot of words, and then I have to respond to ask for the music, that type of thing,
And it's an art to try and like condense it down into the main points that you're trying to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I also understand, because I think that a lot of us, especially for people that we admire and respect that we don't know, people that, like, for example, I used to listen to, I'll just use Duncan again. Like, I used to listen to his podcast all the time, and I felt like, man, like I fucking I resonate so much with this dude. Like I connect so much with this guy. And there's this sense of wanting to have a community with these people that we hear, but we don't know. And we feel like we know them, and we feel like we connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this like nervousness. Like I always say that I'm like a teenage girl that like hopes like the guy will call, So, it's like, oh man, I hope the message is like good. I hope, and now it's just kind of like, I understand it a little bit more, a little differently, but still it is like, you still get those like feelings of like, I sent them a message, like, why didn't they respond? Like, what happened? Is there a problem? Like, can we, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And, and it really only happens with people that I'm really close with, or like people that are idols and heroes of mine.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like being a fanboy, and I totally get it.
Right.
And I'm a fanboy of many people as well, where it's just like, damn, your work is so exciting to me and intriguing, and I would love to build and hang out and do mushrooms with this guy, but like he's too busy to do mushrooms with me. You know what I mean? It's funny, but
who do you fanboy out most? Like, who would be like your top few people that you would just be fucking thrilled to hang out with?
Dude, for sure, Joe Rogan. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That'd be
totally
amazing. I'm a big fan of Eric Godsey, and I've actually been able to hang out with him a few times, which is pretty dope. I've been on his podcast. I love Tim Ferriss. He's a big kind of idol in the entrepreneur world, psychedelically tuned in type of dude. Let's see who else we got. I really actually love Leo from actualize.org.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's been interesting recently. I didn't hear him for a very long time until after I had done 5-MeO DMT, and he speaks a lot about 5-MeO. That's one of the main medicines that he makes use of in his consciousness explorations. And since discovering that molecule and him on YouTube, I've probably heard like 50 hours of his work. So I definitely look up to him as well. But yeah, these types of people who are seemingly on a similar path, who we could learn from, vibe with, maybe offer some of our own juice to what they're doing, and maybe it benefits them, that type of thing. People that inspire me are definitely like in the psychedelic field, but also like are in the in a wellness practice, and also just like being successful. You know what I mean? Like that they're able to do what they want to do for a living and not work a job that they don't want to work.
Yeah, totally. Were you going to say something else there? I kind of cut you off with that, but
no. I think. Well, what about you? Who are some of your icons, idols, and whatnot?
Rogan, definitely. I mean, like I just, I feel a kinship with him.
Yeah.
And he just seems like what he is. you know?
Mhm.
Like he's just that guy. That's who he is. He doesn't have like a different persona or something. You're like, oh man, this guy's an asshole in real life. Like,
Mhm.
um, and I would say Duncan.
Yeah.
I just think that like I just love the way his mind works and how he creates and how he puts the humor and everything and
Yeah.
makes it weird and crazy, and it's so good.
Yes.
And I would say, fuck, who else? Maybe Douglas Rushkoff.
Okay.
I love his where he's like another guy that like I would love to have on the show, and I messaged him a couple times, and it just like like I don't know, I could probably still pester him again, but he's just brilliant, man. I mean, I would also say David Graeber, but he passed away this past year, and he's like one of my heroes as well. Just anarchist, anthropologist, philosopher, brilliant
R.I.P.
guy.
Well, you talking about the podcast is actually a great kind of segue, because by having a platform, we actually have a reason to talk to some of these people, right? Because, just saying I want to get coffee with someone, like that, they're too busy to maybe get coffee. But if there's a podcast and there's something in it for them and they get to share their message with a new community, I found that I've been able to interview and talk to people that, I wouldn't otherwise. So
Sure.
I don't know. I think that that's one of the beauties of having an art form that we're at home in, and that could be music. Like if you're a musician, you could collaborate with another musician you love. Like maybe you offer a commission for them to remix one of your tracks, and because it's like there's this work involved, this like co-manifestation going on. Like there's more of an interest from the other party as to want to do something with you, because there's a platform, there's an art form involved in the collaboration, and not just let's meet for coffee, because some of these people are super busy and they barely can keep up with their own stuff, let alone what you expect from them, so.
For sure. Yeah. I was just thinking like we should pay Michael Phillip to remix this podcast that we're doing right now. And he could just throw in like little like, wow, that is technodelic, or like, things like his little
Wonder Dipper drops,
idioms and phrases.
Wonder Dipper.
Yeah. Wonder Dipper drops. Like that's wonderlicious.
Yes. That's funny.
Dude, this podcast remixed by Third Eye Drops is sick.
Yeah, let's just change the art form.
Let's
drop a podcast album with remixers from other podcasters.
Yeah, that we could do whatever we want. There's no rules in this game.
Totally. That's funny.
Yeah, dude. Well, gotta give a shout out to one of the best new sponsors that we have, Element Kombucha, which is just like, dude, this kombucha I crushed all of it. Everything they sent me, I drank it. I wish I still had some.
Yeah.
It's so good, man. It's, I like it. It's the flavors are amazing. Like the mountain oolong is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I love that one. And the other one that's the CBD one is nice.
Yeah, summer vibes.
Yeah. The green is really refreshing, but it's like, you ever get a kombucha and it's you open it up and it's just like you're like swallowing all these bubbles and you're like fizzing everywhere. It's like you can't even swallow it. It like hurts. Element is like smooth, man.
Yeah, it's kind of
smooth.
It's kind of more like juice,
Yeah, but it has like the perfect amount of bubbles.
Yes,
and it's just, I love kombucha, man. I'm just like so happy that they're crafting these amazing concoctions. So
yes,
put in the code Mike11, get 11% off this really dope kombucha.
Yes.
It's just the best if you're a kombucha fan. And trust me, Brew Doctor did a little sponsorship with Mike Delic not too long ago. They're good. Rowdy Kombucha, I like them too. There's a couple of other kombuchas, but by far Element is like in a class of its own. It's really, it's my favorite one now. Like it's just like I don't even want to drink anything else. It's just so fucking good.
I could share some pretty interesting stuff about the founder as well.
Oh yeah, please do.
Yeah, his name's Tima, and how I came to know Tima is he actually resides at one of the local art studios in downtown San Antonio as a woodworker, who also collaborates with our good friend Payson Jones, aka The Art of Waking Up. He's an amazing visionary artist. And they are both very psychedelic plant medicine type dudes. I know Tima's done ayahuasca, I think tens of times. He's always working with mapacho. Every time I see him, he's got mapacho. And yeah, just very like cool, grounded guy. He spins fire. He's got a great art studio. They're doing this Breath of the Serpent, I believe it's called. Wood snake installation, pretty much like something you'd see at Burning Man. And they're premiering it at Ostronox in Austin, which is a music and arts festival in early November, which I'm actually DJing at, which is going to be dope. And then they're also going to premiere it at Luminaria, which is in San Antonio, Texas. And again, it's another music and arts festival. So he and Tima and Payson, built this amazing serpent. It's like, I don't know, 50 feet long or something, made out of wood, and you can walk through it. And it's pretty much a house too. So you can, like, I'm sure they're on the premiere, they're going to have like bean bags and carpets and places to chill and vibe. I'm at, like, kind of like at the place where we went and where you were in that tea tent.
Yes.
At Unison.
Yeah.
It'd be like that tea tent if it was a sculpture.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So yeah, how did you enjoy that fest? Oh yeah, shout out to Tima, Element Kombucha, much love. Thank you for sponsoring the Time Will Podcast Network. But I wanted to say, how did you enjoy Unison? Because it was cool hanging with you there.
I loved hanging with you there. It was so fun. You and Steven and everybody else that was there, the Austin crew, the Denver crew. We got a little Santa Fe crew in the house too.
Yeah.
And it was so fun, man. It was like one of my favorite festivals, I think like it wasn't so much about the big name artists that were there. Like Parange killed it. Like Equanimous, I had him on the show yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Dope dude. I loved his set. Other people too, but the festival element is the element where I feel most alive in.
Yeah.
Like, or the modality I feel most alive in, because I feel so free, and they set the conditions for us to feel free. No lines, no like people checking your bags or things like that. Everything was free flowing. And it was just like, I had this moment, I'm fucking high on LSD, sitting in like waist up in the water, just big ass smile on my face with a joint in the water, listening to the beach stage. I like look up, the sun is shining, people are dancing, women are naked, dancing on the paddle board, like the big Fiesta paddle board.
Yep.
The beats are fire, friends are everywhere. And then I see somebody on a zip line, just zip line right into the river and drop in. I'm like, this is paradise, man.
It is. It was
like,
paradise.
This is paradise. Like, this is awesome.
It absolutely was paradise. That was actually my first camping festival I've ever been to.
Oh, sick, man.
So I had never stayed for 3 days at a festival. I've only ever been to a festival for one day, and then we leave the night of, or maybe we sleep there and then leave the next morning.
Wow.
So I loved it. I felt such a sense of community. I was really like, this is the Instagram feed for real though, right? The people that we follow on Instagram, and when we're at home and we're not at a festival, it's like they're all here and you see them in person. And those interactions are so much more potent and so much more special than the Instagram verse, you know what I mean? Because, we all get sucked into that, and it's part of marketing and all this and that. But I don't know. I really enjoy the in-person interactions. And it's funny as well, like we kept walking to your tent over and over to try and find you too. And I thought that was cool how it felt almost like the neighborhood used to feel when you were a little kid, when you would just walk to your friend's house and see if they're available, and instead of calling, because now it's always like you got to call and text and I'm here. Like they just text you, I'm here these days. They don't even knock on your door. You know what I mean? It's all through the phone. I do
that all the time.
Right. So to get to walk to your tent and find you is funny. It's like, oh, we found you. Or someone would be at your tent and be like, oh, he went that way. And then we would kind of follow the trail. And we actually kept asking people about you like the whole time. We were like, have you seen Mycadelic? Have you seen Mycadelic to people? And they loved the question. They loved it. They're like, Mycadelic, he sounds awesome. I was like, who is he? And I was like, oh, you don't know him? He's the king. He's the podcast king.
The king.
That shit was awesome.
Yeah, it felt really good. Big shout out to Amaret and Eric and anybody else that I'm forgetting that I saw there. Like, it was really cool for people to just be like, hey, are you Mike Brancatelli? And I was like, I am. They're like, oh, cool, I listen to your podcast. I'm like, all right, awesome. Like, I love that, like, our people were there, like it felt like our people, like, and because it was so free, because there were copious amounts of psychedelics, because the music was such medicine too.
Yes, it was.
It was intentional. Oh, Sam from Infinity Hood, shout out to Sam, got to cop some dope gear and got to hang out with him. He's an awesome dude, making just amazing clothes from the remnants of fast fashion.
Yeah.
And yeah, he told me, I completely blew my mind. He said that, like, fast fashion is one of the biggest contributors to, like, killing the planet, basically.
What is that fast fashion?
It's like H&M and like Target, whatever, like all these places that just like whip up clothes. He said that the seasons now for these fast fashion companies are 2 weeks. So it's like,
so then they throw everything out.
And then they throw everything out.
Yeah,
So all the stuff that they throw out is the stuff that he goes and finds and uses to make his clothes.
Got it.
But it's like, it's apparently it's just really taking a toll on the earth.
Yes.
And resources and stuff. And he's like they have early fall and late fall, early winter and middle winter and late winter and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that is true. You always see new shit coming out. But the problem with it is a lot of it isn't really good quality, because they're just trying to pump it out so quick, I miss good quality.
I saw a
good
meme,
quality things,
like an informative meme, kind of like an earth-based, let's save the earth type message meme that had showed Forever 21 throwing out like tons and tons of clothing that could honestly have been donated to homeless people or something like that, and it just went in the trash. And it definitely hurts your heart a little bit to see that all that clothing, could be used, and it's just going into the trash for the New York City, dump to collect, more or less. And that's a weird thing, but I have been tuning in more to being conscious about clothing. For example, we went and saw the wolves in Woodland Park. There's like a wolf park.
Oh,
and
cool.
The whole time they were telling us how messed up the fur industry is, both for foxes and wolves and everything. And they were pretty much like, don't support people selling fur. If you see fur inside of a shop, literally tell the front desk you're not going to be shopping there until they get rid of their fur. And I kind of resonate, because these are endangered animals. These are sacred animals, and we shouldn't be killing them just to wear dope shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, just get the like fake fur if you love the look of fur. And I totally get it. It looks dope, but don't support that fur industry and that are like out there like killing dogs and shit. That's not cool.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, you bring up such a great point. I mean, it's like a lot of times I feel like we could feel hopelessness or like we're victims to this machine that just keeps marching forward. But really, I mean, like when you become aware of things, if you're interested to become aware of things, then you could start making choices, and just simply those choices of saying no, not buying stuff, that decreases the demand for that thing. And then the producers of that thing are going to be like, oh shit, like nobody's buying our shit anymore. What are we going to do?
Right.
Well, what are they buying? Oh, they're buying that faux fur like stuff. Okay, well, maybe let's make that,
Right.
We'll make it really good.
Yep.
I mean, look at like how like organic food and everything has come so mainstream. Like everywhere you go now, they have healthy organic options, fresh, local.
Right.
And that wasn't a thing. Like, I mean, even just 10 years ago, it was like just starting to become a thing 10 years ago. People would make fun of you if you were like, oh, I have to have like an organic kale smoothie. It's like, yeah, dude, like I don't want to eat poison. Like I don't want to put poison in my body.
They almost kind of shame you for paying more too. Like, cause I worked at the grocery store. So I would see the almost like, why are you buying like this super expensive version of the broccoli? You could get triple the broccoli for the same price, but it's the non-organic, like they'd be like, oh, that's too expensive. And it's funny how what we will spend our money on and what we won't. And like some of the most important stuff, like your health, like what you put into your body, your temple, you will not want to spend money on, but you want to spend money on external things like a car, and this is the real car. This is the important car right here. The other car is going back on the shelf, it's going to the dump. This one, it's got to carry you through 100 years on this earth, and you don't invest in it by eating better stuff, by paying a little more. You know what I mean? It's so interesting how backwards things can be sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, food, like I talked about this actually with Equanimous, who I recorded a podcast with the other day. And, he's very passionate about this. And I always like to hear, he's like, dude, he's like Trader Joe's, even Trader Joe's isn't good. I was like, what? No, not my Trader Joe's, not my little TJ's.
Right.
I sound like Aziz when I did it. Oh no, not TJ's, man. But like, yeah, because they're the packaging, they all trick you into thinking everything's like healthy, organic. But at the end of the day, like if everybody made the choice to buy organic and local, then we'd probably put a lot of these we'd put them on notice. We'd put the big ag on notice. Like, hey man, like people don't want this shit anymore. You want to stay in business, you want to make money, adapt or die.
Yeah.
That's sort of the way. Like that, I think that is the way. I had author John Perkins on the show a while ago. He wrote the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Fucking one of the best books I ever read in my life. I read it in 2010 and I was like, oh shit, I can't believe this is going on in the world. And he talks about, voting with your dollar, voting with your choices. And he made the point, like, I have to agree with him because I see it happening. It's like, if like these businesses want to stay in power and they want to make money, they don't want to fail. So if people start demanding different things from them, they're going to adapt to that. Otherwise they're stupid and they don't.
Yep, they have to. But it is funny, you said something a minute there about how they trick us into it being healthy. And I have seen a bunch of that labeling come up on even, like candy, right? It's like candy. It's like made with real fruit juice. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what was it made with before? Shit, it says fruit on it, and so now they have a little green badge made with fruit juice. It's like, oh, I could buy this one. This one's healthy, but sometimes it's not any different. Like literally the materials, or not materials, but like the ingredients might not be any different at all. All they did was add a sticker to it, and now you feel better about it.
Oh, you feel so good when you see the little circles.
Yep, the
right?
little circles.
You feel so good, like non-GMO, gluten-free, certified B, like all these things. Like, oh man,
some of those are better than just like made with real sugar, right? It's like,
totally.
Oh, real sugar, cool. It's not fake sugar, so let's eat the sugar.
No trans fats.
Yeah,
I think if I remember correctly, I think that was a thing that was just like invented to give the perception that like Lay's potato chips were healthier or something.
Yeah.
Like they're like Lay's potato chips now with no trans fats. And people were like, what the fuck is trans fat? And then like they just said some gobbledygook and they're like, yeah, but see that we don't have it anymore. Yeah, it's like, now Lay's potato chips without sewage, no nails, no broken pieces of glass. Oh, gosh, that sounds good. That's what it's like. How are we eating food that is like sprayed with pesticides and all this shit?
Right.
It's crazy, man.
You can really tell the difference. Like if you buy a normal tomato and then you buy an organic tomato and you cut them open and do an A/B test, the organic one is like triple as good. So it is so worth it. It tastes like a real fucking tomato.
I'm going to do a Joey Diaz. Listen to me, Joe Rogan. Dog, let me tell you, I bought a fucking local organic tomato, dog.
We live in the Kush life. I love when he says the Kush life.
We live in the Kush life, dog. So I had a dinner at someone's house down in southern Colorado, and they had a garden and they picked the tomatoes that day.
Wow.
And everything else, and we ate them, and I was like, this was a while ago, and it was like, wow, like this is so much better. This is so much like
the tomato that you buy in the grocery store that's like non-organic compared to this, it's basically like you might as well be eating plastic or cardboard.
Right.
The taste is like out of this world when it's fresh.
Yes. And also the energy it provides, the prana that it gets from the sun itself. If you are to take it off of its support system, its vine, and eat it within 30 minutes or so, like it actually is still full of life force energy and prana versus these things that are shipped over, they're off the vine for probably weeks before you ever get it. Like the life force energy is long gone at that point. It's like 1% of what it is when you pick it off of the vine and eat it right then and there. And that's going to, bring so much more nutrition, but also just energy in the sense of spiritual energy, life force energy, prana, stuff that makes your nervous system work better, that makes your whole body work better, your endocrine system work better, all that good stuff. And that's what we evolved to eat. That was the only way we ate prior to this current system where everything's mass produced and preserved and put pesticides on and shipped to you, and it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get to you, and you think it's still good, and maybe it is still good, but it's not nearly as good as it should be for what a human evolved to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, it's a real epidemic. You know, I mean, there's a lot of real epidemics. There's only one pan.
Hey, we can't talk about that. We can't.
I didn't talk about anything.
Okay,
I don't know. I was talking about Peter Pan.
They're gonna put a warning label.
Dude, it's fucking crazy, man.
The other day, I saw something that said like, "This is misinformation." Everyone was sharing it, and you go to it, and it was just a quote. That's all it was. It was a quote by a guy from like 100 years ago that talked about when misinformation will be a thing, and it was like, fact checkers have said this is false. And it's like, it's just a quote. How is that false? A guy said a thing. You can't say that that's false.
Yeah, I saw something else that was like that. It's just wild, man. Like it's just the world of efficiency and safety. It's like it's eating us up. It's devouring the human soul. Right. You know, it's like did I tell you about the time that I got a speeding ticket? Didn't even get pulled over. I just got flashed.
Oh, okay.
So you've heard about that when you run like a red light,
yes.
Right? Fair enough. I get that. But this was different, man. Like I was just driving on the road, and then all of a sudden I saw a bright flash, and I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And then I thought, no. Yeah. I was like, don't tell me. Don't tell me that they're just flashing people now. Right. They're not even pulling you over. And that's sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And I was like, man, this is fucked up, because when you get rid of the human element, you get rid of humanity. You get rid of what if I was on the way to the hospital, my wife's going to be pregnant or something, or I shot my finger off and I need to get it
real
re-sewn.
Cop would have stopped you, found out what's going on, and said, let's actually fly to the hospital, follow me. Right. And now all you get is a ticket in the mail. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's wild, man. You need to have that human connection, you know?
Well, I think it depends on your local laws, but in certain areas and jurisdictions, it actually is unlawful to do that because an officer has to witness the crime. And there is no witness when it's a robot. There's literally no witness. It's just a robot, you know? Like, so a crime didn't technically take place, meaning the speeding or the going past the red light, those types of things, which I don't know if that's a crime, but I guess
so it's like if a tree falls in the forest kind of thing.
Yeah.
If a car speeds faster than the posted speed limit, but there's no cop to see it, did it really happen?
Exactly. That's it. And I believe that should be part of the law system, because there should be someone to stand there and say, this is my side of the story. I'm the police. I'm here at the hearing, and he flew going 110 miles an hour down a 40, and that's not safe. So, he needs to get a fine for that. And I would agree with that. But when a robot catches you, you know what I mean? There's no witness there. And that's just kind of like not the precedent that the law was founded around, in my understanding of it. And I'm definitely not a lawyer, so don't quote me on all this shit. But all I know is I've heard through the grapevine that, it's actually like not legal or lawful to enforce tickets when no police officer was present. I mean, check with your local laws because it could be
just
different
doesn't
everywhere.
seem right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right. It's
Right.
like, dude, what the fuck? Like, that's my biggest problem with the modern world that we live in is the red tape and bureaucracy. Like there's when you're dealing with a larger company or corporation or whatever government system, there's no like wiggle room that
Right.
you would have if you had like a relationship based thing where you'd be like, hey, look, like this was an accident, this was a mistake. And then the person's like, I understand. Yeah, we'll take care of you. Don't worry. I know you come in here all the time. You've been a customer for a long time. We'll take care of you. When you're dealing with like something like Facebook or like the government or like fucking Chase Bank or whatever the fuck, they're just like, hey man, this is our policy. Like there's no one even there to be like,
right.
We'll talk to you. We'll help you. We'll work it out. It's just this, it's just an algorithm or machine.
Don't you hate when you
protocol.
call a company and you can't talk to anyone?